In the Philippines, they whisper of a woman who walks by day and hunts by night, a creature of shadow and hunger. I'm James, this is Mythic Tides. Let's meet the Manananggal. The air hung humid and tight as Martina Santa Rosa locked her door for the night. The city was restless, elections loomed, tempers flared. But Martina's street was quiet, the buzz of tricycles long faded into silence. And then, a sound. A wet flutter. Not like wings, not quite. She turned, and there it was. A torso floating in the air. A woman, but not. Skin like wax, eyes too wide. Hair trailing in the windless dark like ink and water. Martina screamed. The creature snarled, a mouth full of broken glass, then shot skyward, disappearing like smoke above the shanty rooftops. Neighbours came running. Alfonso, 2 doors down, swore he saw it too. A shape, flying, screaming, something old, something evil. The news picked up the next day. The headline said, "Batwoman terrorises Tondo." Officials laughed it off, but nobody opened their windows that night. The Manananggal, a name that flits through the shadows of Philippine folklore like a whisper on a humid night. Not to be muddled, mind you, with the Aswang, although the two are often found loitering in the same gruesome tales. The Manananggal is a beast all of her own. A vampiric creature of legendary infamy, part myth, part horror story, part deeply unsettling biology lesson. By day, she appears as a woman, ordinary, perhaps even lovely. But as the sun dips low and the moon takes on her pale watch, a transformation occurs. Wings unfurl, great bat-like membranes of the sort one might expect to find stretched over the bones of a gargoyle. Her features twist, her teeth sharpen, and with a wet, sickening snap, she splits herself in half. Yes, really. You see, Manananggal quite literally means one who detaches, and detach she does, right at the waist no less. The lower half stays rooted to the earth, like some grotesque garden statue, while the upper body takes to the air in search of prey. And not just any prey, this predator has preferences. Most notoriously, the Manananggal is said to favour the taste of unborn children. She uses a long, needle-thin tongue, hollow, flexible, and ghastly, to slither its way through cracks in windows and under doors. With unnerving precision, it finds its way into bedrooms, then into bodies, and finally into wombs, where it feeds in silence as the victims sleep. One shudders to think. She is not, however, opposed to variety. Entrails, organs, and warm human blood will do in a pinch. Yet always, she seems to prefer the young. But how does such a thing begin? And here's where the tale turns from nightmare into fever dream. For nestled inside the stomach of every Manananggal, according to lore, is a tiny pitch-black chick. Yes, a bird. One that must be passed from one host to the next, often when the current bearer lies dying. The bird, so the story goes, eats its host from the inside out while somehow keeping her alive. When the hunger for flesh finally overwhelms her, the transformation is complete. Whatever the origin, the result is always the same. A creature of the night, part woman, part predator, wholly terrifying. And in the warm, starlit evenings of the islands, when a faint teek-teek sound echoes in the dark, best you shut the windows tight. But where did such a creature come from? Not in the literal sense, but in the minds of those who first whispered her name. The Manananggal, like many shape-shifting monsters of Southeast Asia, may reflect deep-rooted fears around childbirth, isolation, and female autonomy. In rural provinces, midwives and healers, often women living alone, were both respected and feared. The idea of a woman who could transform at night, who craved unborn life, became a kind of living cautionary tale. Others suggest it's a way to explain night terrors or pregnancy complications, wrapped in the cloak of folklore. The teek-teek then is not just a bird, but the heartbeat of a community trying to keep danger at bay. Reports of the Manananggal have drifted through the decades like smoke. Some whispered over firesides, others etched into police blotters. The Tondo sighting of 1992, not an isolated case. A few years later, a boy in Quezon City claimed his friend had stumbled upon a nightmare at his bedroom window. A bat the size of a person clinging to the glass 50 feet off the ground. But the wings weren't the strangest part. It had a woman's face, lips twisted in a grin. The boy's mother, they say, was pregnant, and the Manananggal, always hungry, can smell such things. Then there is the story, part folktale, part warning, of the man who married a monster. His bride was beautiful, but she vanished at midnight every night. So one evening he followed, and what he saw: her body abandoned in a thicket, her top half airborne, claws extended. She descended on a stranger and drank deep. Horrified, the husband did the only thing he could. He destroyed her lower half. Come sunrise, unable to rejoin, she crumbled into ash. A tragic tale, yes, but also a method, because that, you see, is how you kill a Manananggal. In Capiz, they say a young woman pregnant with twins began hearing the teek-teek every night. Her husband kept vigil, bolo knife in hand. Her mother scattered ash at the windows. One morning, they found claw marks on the inside of the bamboo slats. Only one twin survived. Some say it was a difficult birth. Others say she came that night and fed before the dawn. A schoolteacher in Zamboanga started acting strangely. The children whispered that they heard cheeping coming from her belly. She was taken to a healer. She never returned to the class. Some say it was just illness. Others believe she was turning. A night patrol in the Luzon Mountains reported a flying torso seen through night vision scopes. They fired. Nothing fell. One soldier later collapsed with claw marks. The report was dismissed, but the unit never patrolled that ridge again. Not all sightings are ancient. In 2023, two girls in Talisay City, Cebu, claimed to see a flying creature with bat wings perched on a neighbour's rooftop. The police were flooded with calls. Don't panic, they urged. Check your sources. But late at night, when the windows rattle and the shadows crawl, it's hard not to wonder. From Metro Manila to Visayas, from rumour to report, the Manananggal has never quite vanished. In the humid heartlands of the Philippines, village homes rise on stilts, their thatched roofs sloping steeply against the tropical rain. Windows are often small, high-set, letting in breeze, but keeping out more than just weather. Practical, of course. Smart design for a harsh climate, and yet some say these features serve a second purpose. For centuries, whispers have told of creatures that come by air, like the Manananggal, a woman who tears herself in two, sprouts wings, and hunts the helpless from above. And what better way to keep her out than walls with no purchase, windows too small to squeeze through, children tucked safe between parents, deep at the centre of the home. These choices might be coincidence, or caution layered over time. After all, fear doesn't always need proof to leave its mark. Salt along the windowsill, garlic near the bed, a house built not just to endure the monsoon, but to keep the night at bay. We may never know whether these details truly come from dread or simply from survival, but the line between the two, like the creature herself, can split cleanly at the waist. The Manananggal hasn't just lingered in oral tales and moonlit whispers. She's taken flight to the screen too, sometimes flapping awkwardly through B-movie air. In 1973, she appeared in the Manananggal vs. the Mankakulam, a cult horror film where the monsters clash like pro wrestlers with wings. The practical effects, glorious. The screams, even better. More recently, she starred in Shake, Rattle and Roll, the long-running Filipino horror anthology. There, the Manananggal's bat-wing descent gets a dramatic upgrade. More shadow, more scream, more midnight blood. In 2016, the Manananggal crept into indie cinema with a new face, human, conflicted, lonely. Manananggal Sa Unit 23B told the story of a young woman trying to date, while also craving human flesh. Less a monster, more a metaphor that painted her not as evil, but as hungry, torn between love and blood. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't what she is, but how much of her is still human. The Manananggal even makes her way into games. In Nightfall Escape, a Filipino-developed horror title, players navigate a haunted asylum stalked by creatures of myth. Among them, a winged woman severed at the waist, whose long tongue pierces the silence like a scream in slow motion. In digital corridors lit only by flickering flashlight, folklore becomes something you can't outrun. The Zamboanga universe has also flitted into comics, anime, and even video games. Some even argue she inspired creatures like the Manananggal in Southeast Asian horror, or informed modern body horror tropes, women unzipping their forms, monstrous hunger masked by beauty.
She can fly.
Still, it's in the Philippines where her legend walks or flies most vividly. She's not just a monster, she's a mirror, one that grins with too many teeth and takes to the sky. But let us imagine, just for a moment, that you haven't shut the window tight, and that the teak-teak, that clicking bird-like sound, starts up again. Only softer this time. Because here's the thing, the quieter the teak-teak, the closer she is. Folklore says she tricks the ear. When the sound is loud, she's still far, but when it fades, she might be already overhead, and you find yourself in the unfortunate position of needing to do something about a ravenous, self-segmenting sky demon. What then? Well, folklore, bless it, doesn't leave us entirely defenceless. The first and most important thing is this: do not waste your time trying to fight the flying half. It's agile, feral, and very possibly airborne above your kitchen right now. No, the key, quite literally, lies in the legs. You see, when the Manananggal peels herself apart, she leaves her lower half standing somewhere safe, like an abandoned mannequin or an eerie pair of trousers awaiting instruction. This is your target. If you can locate the creature's lower half before dawn, you have a fighting chance. The method, surprisingly simple and charmingly culinary. Salt, garlic, ash. Apply any of these to the severed stump. The idea, you see, is to corrupt the docking port, as it were. Come sunrise, if she cannot reattach, she withers, crumbles, dies. A tragically dismembered ending to a very peculiar predator. Now, for those keen on prevention rather than cure, things get even more baroque. One strand of Philippine lore insists that every Manananggal carries within her, wait for it, a tiny black chick. Yes, a baby bird, nestled in her gut like some horrific Kinder Surprise. This chick, apparently, is the true source of her monstrous appetite. To stop the transformation before it begins, you must hang the afflicted upside down and shake them violently until they vomit it back up. But that's not the only path to monstrosity. One tale tells of an ointment, a kind of unholy skincare regime that, when applied to the skin, can trigger the curse. Another warns of nesting a fertilised egg under your arm until it disappears, which I'm sure you'll agree is not something you do by accident. Still others suggest that surviving an encounter with a Manananggal is enough to pass on the darkness, like some mythological infection, bite, bleed, become, a bit like a werewolf. So there you have it, your field manual. A checklist for fighting off a mid-air monstrosity armed with a straw for a tongue and a taste for lives not yet lived. Sleep well, folks. If you've got something to say about the Manananggal, please do leave a comment. I do read them all. If you enjoyed this dive into the shadow, then please do subscribe. There are plenty more monsters to come. I'm James, this is Mythic Tides. Please do keep your windows shut and their salt close to hand. Hope to see you again soon.